In Act 2, Scene 7 of William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice, Portia has placed before the Moroccan prince 3 caskets, one made of lead, one of silver, and one made of gold. She asks him to make a choice between what he desires, what he deserves, and risking all he has. If he chooses wisely, he'll win her hand. He chooses the gold casket, believing it to be, like Portia, the most precious, only to find in it a skull and a scroll that reads, "All that glisters is not gold. Often have you heard that told. Many a man his life hath sold, but my outside to behold. Gilded tombs do worms enfold. Had you been as wise as bold, young in limbs, in judgment old, your answer had not been enscrolled. Fare thee well, your suit is cold." Cold indeed, and labor lost. He chose poorly. It's Horses on Film. Howdy, y'all. Welcome to episode 12 of Horses on Film. This is the podcast dedicated to determining the top 100 Westerns of all time. And we're using as our guide, of course, the IndieWire list that came out in 2024. From there, we're adding, subtracting. We're going to figure out kind of a list of our own, one we can be proud of. So thank you for joining us on our little journey through the American West. And joining me, as always, is my cousin Dave and Scott, our co-hosts. Welcome. Episode 12.
I didn't see you there. Hey, how's it going?
Who are you expecting?
Who was I expecting? I don't know. Pull up a chair.
Yeah, welcome. We're into episode 12. We're 12%, as I like to say.
Stay a while and listen. Yeah.
Through this list. So that's great. And as I've recently, not at time of recording, but just before time of air, we've realized it's past Chinese New Year, and it's, of course, Year of the Horse. So, well, of course it is, with all the kind of lucky bounces we've been getting on this podcast. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. I'm going to hopefully say now, it has been a wonderful new year.
Yes,
we hope.
Yeah, everything's going great. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Yeah, I know, it's wonderful.
Not going there.
It hasn't been weird. January wasn't weird at all, like we suspected it might be, and February was 28 days of bliss, and here we are.
Yay!
Yay! So last episode we covered The Rider, Chloe Zhao film. It now stands in the number 2 position. It got very good ratings, 16.750 out of 20, average rating of 4.188. So that's kind of surprising, but it's jumping right up in there into the top 4.
Yeah, and so we have Dances with Wolves, The Rider, Unforgiven.
That's our top 3 right now. Yes.
That's a solid top 3 if you ask me.
It is.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, we have a lot to go and a lot of classics in there, so we'll see how things shake out, but that's where we're at right now.
Looking forward to figuring that out. Spoilers, I don't know if this one's going to break the top 3.
Well, we'll see. Well, this one is Treasures of the Sierra Madre. Are you guys ready to jump into it?
Yeah.
Right.
Whenever you are, is there? I think that's all. We don't have any corrections or anything. We did a really solid episode. We did everything right.
Yeah, I can't imagine we did anything wrong. I mean, we probably did. And as I watch things back, I'm sure I'll find something. But yeah, I don't think we have any corrections to make. I think
lovely guests, actually.
Incredible guests, and very excited that season 2 of their podcast is humming along great. The Albertans in Space. And I just saw an article today about the U of C just announced that they're the top Canadian school for space research right now. So University of Calgary is kicking some butt, and so are Megan and Sandra Lynn. So that's great.
Nice. Hopefully, like in the spirit of the new year, actually, one of the things I think we've been really blessed by is like all our guests have been amazing, and so I just want to send a thank you to all of them when they see this. That thank you for coming on, and look forward to chatting with you all again.
Absolutely. It's been an embarrassment of riches here in this.
Actually,
mostly Alberta film people, and they're good people. So yeah.
Fantastic. So
yeah,
carrying the Canadian stereotype through international podcasting.
Exactly. All right.
Absolutely.
So
let's jump into it.
Yeah, we'll put this up. We'll start some mood music and jump in.
I like that.
Two jobless Americans convince a prospector to travel to the mountains of Mexico with them in search of gold. But the hostile wilderness, local bandits, and greed all get in the way of their journey.
Yes, it's 1948's The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, written and directed by John Hewson. Of course, Danny Huston's father, the Maltese Falcon, the African Queen, and also on this list, The Misfits, which is one I only saw maybe last year or the year before, and I really, really enjoy it. I'm looking forward to getting to that one. It's based on B. Travin's 1927 novel of the same name. A bit of a mystery man. No one totally knew who he was throughout the course of his life. There was a lot of these, similar to the characters in the movie, a lot of people that went to Mexico to kind of work and find random jobs in these enterprises, whether they were running from something or doing whatever they were doing to start their life over in Mexico. He was running perhaps.
Yeah.
But it was likely Hal Croves who finally presented himself as the kind of assistant to B. Travin and interpreter / assistant. He was the person on set. He was kind of the middleman between the author and the filmmakers. But it was very likely he was B. Travin. It stars Humphrey Bogart, John Huston's father, Walter Huston, and Tim Holt. Nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Screenplay. It lost Best Picture to Laurence Olivier's Hamlet. This was kind of right when the kind of prestige British and European films were kind of more in the Oscar conversation. And I think it kind of snuck in there and stole a lot of votes. Probably a beautiful movie. It did win the other 3 though. It signified the first time that a father and a son both won an Oscar for the same movie. So, and I don't know if that's happened since. So it's kind of a big night at the Oscars. It also won Best Picture and Best Supporting Actor and Best Director at the Golden Globes. So it was kind of in the conversation through these awards. It got great critical acclaim. It was shot in Burbank Studios from April 6th to July 18th, 1947. And then they moved to Mexico, kind of around Acapulco, for 5.5 months of location shooting. They went 29 days over schedule, shooting days over schedule. Kind of one of the first big American films to shoot on location, outside of the studios, in Mexico, in the heat, in the sun, in the desert, much to the chagrin of the studio. They ended up eventually finishing up back in Kernville, California, where they kind of found landscapes that closely
somewhat match. It's black and white. You won't,
exactly. And I think it looks great. There's never really a scene, even in Day of the Outlaw, there's a couple scenes where you go, that's the studio, but this definitely feels like they were outdoors, they were sweating, they were uncomfortable, especially Humphrey Bogart was not enjoying himself out in the world. But yeah, and joining us today is our guest, again, another great guest from the Alberta film industry, filmmaker, independent producer, podcaster, Matt Waterworth. Matt, welcome. You're on mute. There you go.
Hey,
there he is. All right,
thanks for
Matt.
having me.
Absolutely, Matt. And Matt hosts the Pluripod podcast, which we will talk about more later, but I've just devoured it. I'm eagerly waiting your final episode.
Hopefully it's out by the time this is out. That would be.
I'm sure it will be. But yeah, that was a very, very cool show, Pluribus on Apple. And definitely one that you want to talk about. Like,
for sure.
I know Scott's been watching it and has been dying for us to catch up on it.
Both Brittany and I she's not a big Vince Gilligan fan, where that was my, like, from X-Files on, but even Battle Creek I was in for. This scratched that itch that it has that mystery to it of, like, what is going on? Like, and so
what are the rules?
What are the rules? And
where are the limitations? Where are the, and what would you do? That's the other one where it's like,
that's it.
It's like, the peace on earth, ending racism, ending a lot of these things.
There are some
positive.
At what cost?
Where do they stand? What are we losing? What are we giving up? It's a very interesting show.
Yeah. Excited for season 2.
Yeah, I'm glad you're covering it because
in like a year.
Yeah. In 2.5 years, like it's on the Severance schedule.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's a meditation on the Patriot Act. What are we giving up?
You mentioned even AI and where do we stand on it? It's an interesting one.
It's really good. So
cool.
Check the podcast out.
Yes, and Matt, had you seen this show before, Treasure of Sierra Madre?
I never have, and I have to say, maybe I should have told you this before you invited me on as a guest, but I Western, not my genre. However, I would love to make a Western. I have a lot of research I need to do before I get there. So this was a great experience to see this film.
Well, you saying that will lead me to my first question: is this a Western?
Right. And
we'll get into that.
We're not okay. We'll wait on that.
Oh, no, we can start with that.
Well, this is the whole conceit of your show, which I love, right? Like like how do we define it? What is the criteria? I've been listening to a few episodes, and it's an interesting discussion. And I know that this is coming out later, but it's still kind of Christmas vibes right now while we're recording. And what's a Christmas movie is also sort of like, how do we define that? Is
absolutely there's a great Canadian movie called The Silent Partner with Elliot Gould, where he is he's a bank teller and he is robbed by Santa Claus at Christmas, but he kind of figured out that Santa was going to rob the bank in the mall. It's like the mall Santa goes into the bank in the mall. Yeah, and it's like Eaton Center, Toronto. It's Canadian money on film. I love anytime I see Canadian money on
actually film. Now you say the minute it was the mall Santa, I was like, I think I've actually seen this.
John Candy is in it as a non-comedic role, and I do. I love the idea that just because it's at Christmas doesn't necessarily. I mean, look at the proposition.
I was going to say, look, we have a wonderful family-friendly, light-hearted film, The Proposition, that we just did. For Christmas.
It brings up a lot of like questions of, again, especially I'm finding with modern filming, we're crossing genres a lot, or crossing tones a lot more to get really fantastic stuff. We talked about I'm not too sure when it's going to air, but Hell or High Water, and that is such a mixed bag of tones and genres and feelings, and that it really, I think that was a fantastic discussion of what is a Western.
And I think, and again, I don't know that we'll definitely define it. I don't know if it's 100% definable, but we're trying. We're putting an effort, and even exposing ourselves to a lot of these films. I think we're going to start to get an idea, something forming at least in our gut of like what feels Western. Famously, Dave and I did not agree that There Will Be Blood was Western enough. although it is a Western, is it Western enough for this list?
Post-Western.
Yeah, exactly.
Neo-Western.
So we'll get to that. Dave, had you seen this one before? Sierra
I
Madre?
had, actually. Yeah. It's been a while. I am fairly certain the last time I saw this was right around when they were bringing out the DVDs for the Maltese Falcon and Casablanca.
Sure.
Because there was an anniversary for one or the other of those, I forget.
Mm-hmm.
So when I watched it in, originally at least, in a mindset with those as a comparison for Humphrey Bogart. And this really felt lesser.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's because of those. So I remember being disappointed in it.
A lot of hardcore Bogart fans were disappointed in it at the time, even though they might consider it his best performance. They wanted him to be clean and slick and chatting up ladies and they wanted the
smarmy one.
Yeah, San Francisco film noir.
Somewhere I saw a quote of him telling a media personality, "Wait till you see my next film," referencing Sierra Madre. I'm a real son of a gun.
Yeah.
Scumbag.
Yeah. Like he played this as a terrible human being.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't at the start. It's just, this is what gold, this is what
greed.
Yeah. And that was a big part of this is what does gold fever do to a person?
Right.
And I think he didn't seem like he was that good of a person to begin with, though. Like he seemed like he was a fairly negative person who then got worse, as opposed to a good person who got blinded.
When the bandits first hit the train, did you notice how like pumped he was to have killed 3 men?
Yeah,
he was
3 of them.
He was hyped.
Yeah.
Also,
absolutely.
On that note as well, I like how that moment plays out. Because it gets called back several times in the movie, and it feels just like a random nothing moment. Like, the outback is dangerous here, right? But I like that it later on it plays in, and you see his bloodthirst of like, I would have got more if the train hadn't like hiccuped there or like hitched, right?
Yeah. Well, and at that moment when they finally decide to like pool their money together and enter into this, let's go out, let's get the provisions, let's get the mules, we'll go out and we'll actually look for gold with this old guy. He kind of seems like he's definitely doing a solid for the other,
for Houston,
Tim Holt, like his other compatriot, and it looks like, okay, he's not going to forget him, and like, what's a $200 debt or a $600 debt if we're going to make $100,000 or whatever, right? But I just the speed in which he turns to the dark side really does. Although I did notice today, it was after, like, they were still in pretty good spirits when they were first getting gold, but after he hit his head,
it was
his little head damage when the mine collapsed on him, and Tim Holt's character saved him.
Yeah.
And I think he really appreciated, oh my God, I'm indebted to you. You saved my life. But it was from that point on that he started to get a little bit.
Well, and it's the Tim goes, I'll give you some of my gold. Like that one. And I was like, he just saved your life, and now you're demanding payment for some small inconvenience. Like, it right there was like that like Smeagol moment where it was just like, oh, this is not going to go how you think.
Yeah.
And Scott, had you seen this one previous to this?
I had not. Like Matt mentioned earlier, I'm like the audience's POV for the not Western side, and
we love. If it was 4 people that watch nothing but Westerns, no one would watch this.
It was interesting because usually my comment on the older films is pacing. But I think because of the nature of the film, the pacing worked in this. Actually, it was the first time. So the first thing I do when I load the film up is I see the time, how long it's got. I was like 2 hours. Oh, I'm in for something. But I actually really enjoyed it. It was only about the last 5 minutes where I went, okay, we don't need this. But pacing's fantastic. The film is great. For black and white, it's really clear. That at least the version I watched.
Transfer on at least on
and
it's gorgeous.
Seeing Bogey play not the cheery protagonist was actually fantastic.
Yeah, he really kind of stretched himself as an actor, and he had a theater career previous to stage, and in the theater he was really like the good-looking, charming heartthrob, which I think once he came to film, he was never really that heartthrobby, maybe Casablanca,
Casablanca was, I think, where most people know him for, right? And so to see him play like a different type
right out of the gate, like he was a bum. I was like, this is not who I expected him to play at all.
Yeah, and he was going to pick up that cigarette off the ground if the kid didn't get to it quicker.
For sure, yeah.
He's throwing the water in the kid's face too. I was just like, he threatens it, and then he's like, "No, screw it, I'm doing it." And it was just like, it caught me off guard. I was like, "What did the kid ever do to you?" I get it.
That kid grew up to be Robert Blake, who may have killed his wife. He was acquitted
for real. That was the kid's Robert Blake.
That's Robert Blake. Yeah. So maybe that kid deserved a splash of water in the face.
I think he might deserve a little more than that, but we won't go there.
That's his villain origin story.
That splash in the face. That splash in the face is kind of important, I think, actually, because I was kind of wondering what's the point of the lottery? Why not just have them have taken 600 off the guy instead of 500?
Mm-hmm.
But the lottery gave us a chance for us to see how Dobbs handled like a child being annoying and winning, and his kindness, and how he roller coaster he is.
Yeah,
there's a little win moment where it really, and I think we talked about the bump on the head. It was the fight in the cantina. Mm-hmm. He could have just taken all the money, but he doesn't. He takes what he's owed, what they're owed, and gives the rest back. He's like, "No, we beat you. We gave you the lesson. We're not here to rob you. We just want what we are owed."
Yeah, it was about being fair. They got screwed.
Yeah, and legitimately got screwed.
Yeah, and they said it. They set the record. Yeah. And I love that. I love that moment that even the most incorruptible can then later be.
And then he gives the money to the bartender and be like, "Here's for the bottle and for using your bar to teach this lesson. We're on our like." It sets him up in such a different manner than what we get with the kid and the cigar or the cigarette, all that. And then we get this, oh no, he has a heart of gold. And then we get out into the field and we're like, oh no, that was just because he was surrounded by civilization.
Yeah, exactly.
His heart is fool's gold.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a heart of fool's gold. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Well, my intro to this was definitely The Simpsons. As in most things in my life, when the DVDs for The Simpsons came out and the commentary tracks, I was devouring the commentary tracks on the Simpsons DVDs. Season 2, I think it was episode 21, 3 Men in a Comic Book, which I do reference in the opening intro there. They talked a lot on that commentary track about how influenced they were by Sierra Madre. So then I tracked it down and I watched that, and I was like, okay, yes, I see the Bart, when Bart's in the treehouse and he starts turning, and Martin is trying to sneak out to go to the bathroom, and they decide to tie him up. And I love Milhouse in that. Let's tie him up.
I want to take a very small exception to what you said here.
Okay.
This was your inspiration to find the movie, was The Simpsons. Your first experience with the movie, we talked about before, was Bugs Bunny, which is also in that intro.
Definitely Bugs Bunny. And when it was 8-Ball Bunny, when suddenly there's this wild cameo, it's an episode of Bugs Bunny, which I know I had seen a million times prior to The Simpsons, for sure. And yes, Bugs is helping a little penguin who was in the ice capades get back home, and he's trekking across North America, Mexico, South America to try to get this little penguin back to Antarctica. And he keeps running into Humphrey Bogart's character, Dobbs, from Sierra Madre, who keeps asking him for money. And at one point it does save him from being boiled alive by cannibals. And, it is kind of a weird little cartoon, which has nothing to do with an 8-ball or billiards, or I'm not sure where it gets its title.
Looks like
But
a penguin.
yes, as a child, I was astutely aware, as a 2-year-old, I was astutely aware of every time a real person was cameoing in a cartoon for some reason. Like the Flintstones, you always kind of knew that, Bedrock Hudson was somebody,
They're just out of
Animaniacs.
place.
Animaniacs must have just blew your mind.
Absolutely.
Just like every episode has like 7 people.
I definitely knew watching that as a 4-year-old that was somebody. Did I know it was Humphrey Bogart? I guarantee I did not.
Right.
But yes, and did I know it was a Sierra Madre reference?
Definitely.
No way in this world. But yeah, it's so strange whenever someone's on the Flintstones or on Bugs Bunny and you can tell it's a real person, like Clark Gable or someone like that. It always stood out to me. The animation never matched entirely. And yeah, it's wild that Bugs Bunny jumped in there on this movie. Goes to show probably how popular the movie was at the time. And I forget 8-Ball Bunny was probably like 49 or 50, 51, somewhere in there. So it was a pretty, modern reference at the time.
1950.
1950, yeah. So 2 years later, with the way movies stuck around in the theaters for a while, it was probably very recently left the theater. Anyway, yeah. And then, believe it or not, The Simpsons went back to the Sierra Madre well again in season 27, episode 17. The bee story, of course, that one's called Burns's Cage. It's kind of a bird cage scenario with Smithers and Mr. Burns. But the bee story is that the school is putting on a stage play of Casablanca, and a exchange student comes in who's basically a little Humphrey Bogart, and he's going to take this role away from Ralph. Eventually, Ralph plays the role, plays it very well. And at the end, Moe, groundskeeper Willie, and the Humphrey Bogart kid get some mules and head off into the desert looking for gold. And it's just done with like still images in the credits. They also end up hanging the Humphrey Bogart kid like Once Upon a Time in the West with the arch and the harmonica. It's a whole thing. Yeah. So yes, there's a hanging. There's they end up on the African Queen according to the stills, and yeah, it's the Simpsons writers obviously love this movie and go back to the Sierra Madre well. So
I knew of the movie without even knowing what the movie was.
It's one of those things, right? It's like a prototypical story in that way.
Like, when you mentioned Laurence Olivier earlier, it was like, oh yeah, like Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah, Lawrence Olivier. Yeah, Lawrence of Arabia. That was right. Lawrence of Arabia. I'm just double checking.
Different Lawrences, but yes.
Yeah. That's why I'm getting like really. I was like, wait a minute, that's weird. But it's one of those movies. Like, there's certain movies you just know whether you've watched it or not, and you might not know what it is, but you know of it. It's Casablanca. Absolutely. Casablanca is one where it's just like
This one's on the AFI list, or at least the one from 2004, with that first one that they kind of, maybe even the 90s, that AFI top 100 list. Sierra Madre is on there. I don't know if it's slipped off. I think it's still on there.
Spoilers for the next season of the podcast.
Yeah,
AFI top 100.
Great podcast called Unspooled with Paul Scheer and Amy Nicholson. They went through the AFI list. They did a great job. A little bit of an inspiration for what we're doing here. So yes,
fair enough.
They did. They and now they're going into, I think, the 1001 movies that you have to see before you die.
My goodness,
they're in it deep. I was going to mention the novel was originally only published in German, and he at first, B. Travin, refused to make it available in capitalistic societies. He wanted it to be a real indictment of capitalism and colonialism, and he didn't like what the church was doing in Mexico. We mentioned when we talked about Vera Cruz on another episode where the French government was really involved in Mexico, and they were trying to set up a monarchy in Mexico, and there was always these little mini revolutions were happening all over the place. Mexico was a real, untapped resource, and everybody kind of wanted in on it. And this post Civil War, all these American oil companies went down there, and that gentleman that they work for, that they end up getting screwed by and beating up, was one of these guys that was, these millionaire companies that were just screwing the local people, So it was sort of a weird place. Is it a Western in that sense? Once we get into that, I don't know. We'll see.
I'm going to answer that. I don't think so. And based on actually you two were the ones who my inspiration to say no to this one. If There Will Be Blood is not a Western, neither is this. And that's the way I'm looking at it, is like it has the spirit, just like There Will Be Blood did, and it has the pedigree for sure.
John Huston, absolutely.
Yeah, everything is there to make it. But if There Will Be Blood is not a Western, then this can't be a Western either. It's just consistency is the word I would be using here.
I guess. And, we mentioned this episode on the There Will Be Blood episode. We mentioned this movie because Daniel Day-Lewis's performance was greatly inspired by John Huston in Chinatown, as well as in the behind the scenes footage of this movie. And you can really hear it in the man in the white suit who keeps getting, that's John Huston playing that role. And you can hear a little Daniel Plainview.
When he's like, here's my friend, some tequila. I was like, no, rye. No, we want brandy, whatever. And it's like, I was like, oh, I see it. And I listened. I'm a rye man. Yeah,
I listened to the audiobook of Sierra Madre. And it's amazing how much the man in the white suit character just sounds like the narrator. Anyway, sounded just like he was doing a Daniel Plainview impression. So there is some connection there.
Behind the scenes, for the audience, Cameron really, really digs into this stuff. Like, if you haven't put that together yet, like between the Star Wars stuff on the Happiness Patrol and it's
we drank when we mentioned Star Wars.
Oh, all right.
And it's just like he really I think it was one of the episodes where it was like, I watched it 14 times this week. I was like, okay. I hardly had time to watch it once. So
wow. Yeah, I just there's a lot. There's a lot. Movies like this, they're so in our zeitgeist. I found more. I can get into it. You guys want more? So the studio had George Rafton, Edward G. Robinson, John Garfield in mind for the main roles, but it would have happened prior to World War II, but World War II happened, and that kind of disrupted film production. Certainly, a movie like this wasn't going to happen. There was 4 different versions of the script prepping during World War II. One of them didn't get past the 1930s censors because they thought it was derogatory towards Mexicans. I didn't feel this movie was derogatory towards Mexicans in the end. Like the final version that went probably was to keep it above code. I don't know what the code was by 1948. Stanley Kubrick listed as his 4th favorite film of all time. Sam Raimi ranks it as his favorite film of all time. Paul Thomas Anderson watched it every night before bed while writing There Will Be Blood. And it's on Spike Lee's list of 87 movies every aspiring director needs to watch. So I think it's in there. There's a song called Fool's Gold by the Stone Roses that is based on this song. The lyrics, 3 geezers who are skint and they put their money together to get equipment to go looking for gold. Then they all betray each other. That's what the song's all about. That's Fool's Gold by the Stone Roses.
Fantastic song. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels use it really well. So.
Yeah. And the Simpsons, they pull their money together to buy the comic book, and it tears them apart.
It sounds really bad, but the first thing I thought of when you said it was Stanley Kubrick's 4th favorite film is his top 3 are probably like Clockwork Orange, um
2001.
2001 and like Eyes Wide Shut or something. Like it's just like he's gonna be like
Very
he
into
seemed
that.
like the kind of guy that that's a different podcast. Like
I don't know what the top 3 are, but they said it was
Yeah.
his 4th favorite film. So there, the Ronald Reagan was considered for the Tim Holt role, which I think would have been very interesting. I think Ronald and Nancy Reagan were pretty tight in with this kind of crowd, and they had done some stuff together prior to this. So yeah, that almost happened. And the novel opens with a line. It says, "The treasure which you think not worth taking, trouble and pains to find, this one alone is the real treasure that you're longing for all your life. The glittering treasure you are hunting for day and night lies buried on the other side of that hill yonder." So I think it's a little bit about that search, that discovery, but then what does that do to you when you actually find? Were you guys surprised when they found the gold that it was essentially just sand? Is that what you pictured when?
I think like Deadwood and the Yukon Drive has conditioned us to look for like nuggets, like the big old. But that's not what it is at all. Like I have a friend who prospects every once in a while, and that he talks about it every once in a while. It's just like you're looking for. Yeah, it's such a weird. Welcome to Canada, and it's just like it's just like he during the summer he lumberjacks, and during the winter he rides moose to go into the forest and find gold. But he always talks about gold flakes. It's never big pieces. It's always little flakes. So.
Okay. Yeah, and they, I think they were a little astonished too. Then they were looking at it. They're like, "Oh, it's like sand." Without Walter Houston there to kind of say, like, "You idiots, this we're standing right on it." Without him knowing, I think they would have walked over it a million times and not
the fool's gold though.
They were pretty excited about that, and they spilling water all over. What do you guys think of John's father Walter in this role?
I was blown away. I thought he was great.
It's when he's the first time he's divvying up he's weighing the gold and he's explaining his thought process. And I was expecting him to be like the one to like really like betray everyone and really like, because it felt like he was in the same vein as the businessman from the beginning, where, oh no, I just take 2 guys out here, I use their labor to get me some of this gold, and then I kill them and go back and find 2 more, right? And that wasn't how it played out. And I actually found that really, really entertaining and kept me thinking. But when he's explaining his like, oh, like this is what I think would happen, and like, but not me. That's not who I am. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. You're, monorail, I guess. But like it just like it was such a refreshing that he was fairly honest.
Yeah, that was like right from the beginning. He's talking about like, you got to have the stomach to go it alone, but you don't want to go alone. But you don't want to go with somebody either because you'll fuck each other over.
Yeah, murder's always on the menu, kind of thing. Yeah. I almost think, he was a little bit of that. He was almost a little too cordial to be trusted. I almost think he was setting them up for this deterioration of trust. And, because he kind of kept poking at it by saying, well, if you take someone, they might try to kill you. And if when Bogart was supposed to go into town for supplies, and he was like, well, you want me to be killed? And I was like, well, no, it's just, why don't you take it with you? Well, but then you'll be robbed. And that's what it's about. And I thought he was kind of doing everything he could to fuel that, like maybe hope. Like Scott said, hoping that they would tear each other apart, and then he would just walk away with all of it.
I didn't get that, like, because and you mentioned that line about like, well, if you bumped into some bandits, they're going to kill you for your shoes. It doesn't matter if you have gold. Like, it was he had this like sort of neutral like balance to him that was kind of interesting. And there's that moment where they shake hands and they say partner, and he's looking up at the 2 of them while they're shaking hands. Yeah, kind of like, but it does feel like, I agree with you that he's like, is he setting this up for his own entertainment in some way?
It was when the fourth gentleman joins in, and they are figuring out what to do.
Right.
And when they finally just settle on number one, he's the last one to get his gun and
He's reluctant about it for sure. Yeah.
And that's when I realized, oh no, he's the good one.
Yeah.
Out of the three, for sure, I took my eye off him. He's like, no, he's just a eccentric prospector who's done this more than once and just found two more people to go chum in the 10 months, go chum in the mountains with. So
he even mentions
sorry.
Yeah, he even mentions that he is. I lost it. I'm sorry. I'm glad I interrupted you.
It was worth it. I had nothing to say either. So we're good.
Yay! Well, that's the end of this episode. Catch us.
All right. And on that note,
I got it. There's my thought process was why join in? Why take option one, which is to kill the guy? But he also was stuck in that if he didn't participate in it, they'd hate him for that and be
find a couple more
him.
holes in him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That guy did a good job of sowing mistrust too, where he kind of, he was the one that laid out, well, one of you is going to have to kill me. And then the other two people are always going to have that over the other guy. And I feel like he's talked his way out of that scenario before.
Probably.
He probably makes a pretty good living going around and finding, maybe he's not great at finding gold, but he can find people that are finding gold. And this time it doesn't work out for him because of the bandits, which it may have not worked out for all of them if those bandits, had it another way kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was a dangerous place where they were,
One of the one of the inconsistencies, I think, I might be wrong, is when he's going off to help the kid in the village.
Yeah.
Why aren't we having the discussion of, oh, you're just going to go get people to come back and kill us, or take what we have? You're just trying to.
Yeah.
They just they all of them just like, yep, got to help a kid who they don't even know is real or not. And they're like, oh, cool, here we go. And it's the guy that drugged them into the mountains to begin with. But that caught me off, where I'm like, we've keep sowing this mistrust of each other. And then all of a sudden we're just like, okay, we're friends. Let's go. Like
there's a couple things that happen. Like, I mean, when the little boy comes up to him at the beginning to tell him that he's won the lottery, he's yelling at him, you won and you didn't pay me. Like, you have to, there's kind of this honor system of like, whoever sells you that ticket deserves a piece. Of thing.
Yeah.
And a tip, or, there's sort of a unwritten honor system. Also with the, when they first encounter those people that have the sick child, he says, well, they won't come out and ask for help right away. First, they have to kind of build up to it. So we're going to exchange tobacco, and Bogart can't get his head around it. Why are we giving them tobacco and they're giving us tobacco? Like, what's
just
there are these kind of ancient honor moments. Mm-hmm. And then, when he says, well, I'm going to go help this boy, or I'm going to go potentially help them. I think he was living by their rules of this honor system that wasn't clear to the other two.
Yeah.
And he kind of tried to explain it as quickly as he could, but in the end, it really worked out for him. And he's kind of considered to be a healer in this community by the end of the movie. And
you just lift your arms up and you get out of the coma. That's all.
3 to 5 meals a day. And they just want me to tell them what they want to hear. Like, right. Every once in a while I'll have a drink and maybe some women.
And was he taking advantage of them, or was he helping them? Like, that's where I kind of think he's almost the snake in the Garden of Eden. He almost is like, he's tempting these guys to go out. First, he kind of feeds them the line that there's gold out there to begin with. And then they, knowing that they're desperate and in this horrible hotel, they talk about it on their own. Hey, what'd you think about that guy talking in the hotel? And then they gather up the courage to kind of approach him. And he's like, yeah, I'll take you out there. Let's get the stuff. Let's pile our money. I really do think he's not as innocent as
kind of like the Sting, where you lay the groundwork for this big job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, and it's again, I wasn't expecting. I thought he was going to be the like you put it, the snake in the grass, not Bogey. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he likely knew where the gold was, and he probably could have gone out and got the gold. But again, he told them earlier, like, oh, we're gonna need more money than that because we need the tools and the weapons.
Yeah.
And they're like, the weapons? Why would you need? And he's like, because it's dangerous.
Bandits.
And he wasn't gonna do it alone. And so
Yeah.
there's a part of me that thinks yes, he was using them to an extent.
Almost.
Oh,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yeah. There are a few moments, and this sort of speaks to the language of the film, which is a bit different than what I'm used to with more contemporary films, which is we didn't get a lot of reactions. There's a lot of times where like boom, there's that moment and you two are dumb again, or like, oh, it's fool's gold. And then we don't get the reverse on Dobbs and Curtin going like, oh, we didn't know that. Like there are these moments that hang where you, and I don't want the soap opera version of it where everyone looks.
Dun,
But I
dun,
need
dun.
sometimes there were very like missing shots for me where I was like, don't we get to see how they feel about this moment? And then we wouldn't get to see it.
They did play a lot in threes. Like
Yeah.
it was a little bit theatrical in that sense. Like they tried to get everybody in the frame together a lot of the time, especially once they started spiraling. Well,
And now that you mention it, because he overreacts to being called a hog and punches the guy. But you're telling me when the dude who they hardly know at this point goes, "You're idiots," he has no reaction?
Yeah.
I think he was ready to have a reaction, but he followed that up pretty quickly with, "We're going to be rich."
Yeah.
And they didn't at that point.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You could call me anything
if you want.
And then, but even then, like, again, I don't really understand. I mean, I should know more about gold mining because I have worked on sets where we've set, like, our set decks departments always do a great job. And I remember on a Roughing It, which was like a Mark Twain movie I did, they had the town with all the sluices, what are they called? Sluice. So those things where like they run the water down it. And then there's other movies. There was a Jimmy Stewart movie I watched where they went up to Alaska and they were panning for gold, and they had all those same kind of sluice things, and there was this, again, an honor system where you didn't go work somebody else's and all this stuff. But yeah, it's wild that they load the water up, they drag the water up, and they let the water run down over the sand, which then shakes the gold in. I don't know how it works.
Gold,
but they certainly weren't panning in a river the way you
right.
saw in like Buster Scruggs or some of those other things. They kind of had to create a river to separate the gold.
It's the gold is heavy, and so it sinks to the bottom. And so when you pull it all out, that's why it's all ribbed. So it catches the gold, and then all the lighter sediment and stuff goes over it.
Okay, yeah.
I have a friend who does this stuff, and he explained it to me one day, and I was just like, cool.
Yeah, everyone in Dawson's Creek right now is just like frustrated with us. They grew up talking about this at every museum tour they ever went on.
1900s prospectors yelling at the monitor right now.
Yeah. Well, you can definitely see Walter Houston's influence on every other prospector that's ever been in every other show.
I was gonna say, again, a prototypical character kind of.
I'm wondering if
Stinky Pete and everybody in
Toy Story 2 is he, like, it's like the old prospector, is that supposed to be this too? And the minute you started going with the Bugs Bunny thing, I literally went through every time I saw something like this being like, is this now? Like,
I think
that really reframing everything in my head.
That prospector doing a little jig,
that dance, and
I guess he brought that little dance from another production that he was on. He was in a theatrical production, stage production, and he had to learn how to do that jig. And so he kind of had that in his back pocket.
Nice.
And then it was his son, the director John, who asked him to do it without his teeth, so that he could be kind of gummy and maybe look a little bit more poor and more
goofy.
I don't know. Also, maybe that there's something to be said too about like less harmless, or more harmless.
Yeah.
That, his
mostly
his teeth are
harmless.
gone. Yeah. Yeah. And then his maniacal cackle especially at the end, he accidentally taught to himself because he was in a stage play of Othello where he was panned. And when he was reading all the horrible reviews and thinking, you know, what's my life worth now, he just started cackling to himself, and then that cackle carried over into this production. So yeah, there's kind of a lot of things that came together, and then you really do see that prototypical prospector character show up again and again and again. Yeah. So again, goes to show the influence of this movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, one of the other interesting influence parts is the bandits.
Yeah.
One of the most misquoted quotes of all movie history of badges. We don't need no stinking badges.
Right.
They don't actually say that. They say it differently, but that's
we don't need to show you any stinking badges.
Yeah.
And yes, and then that came up in Blazing Saddles even.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
Yeah. And various other things. I'm
sure.
One of those absolute quotable lines.
In that moment, because they shoot the hat, and all I could think was, how did they do that? Because back then, I'm like, there's a in my head, I'm like, is there a chance they actually had a guy just shoot it and he just stood there, or like, did they have the hat without a hole, tell him not to move, swap it out, turn the camera back on? Did they like? It actually caught me off guard, being like, I wonder how they did this. Like back then, nowadays we would have probably just CGI'd it, but like
there might have been a squib if you kind of score it, and then blow it off with a squib. That's possible.
It was probably the least thing of that scene, but it somehow caught me as like, oh no, we did that.
They did hire real bandits for a lot of the background performers, and the guys that were robbing the train. They told them, okay, we're going to be shooting at you. And the bandits kind of talked for a little bit. And then they said, okay, but only arms and legs, no killing. And they did not understand that, we're going to be fake shooting at you.
Yeah.
So they were all in. And so there is maybe a small chance that they just blew a hole in the guy's hat.
Where do you want to eat tonight? I don't care.
The power of Hollywood.
Legs, no killing.
Yeah, they were getting paid more money probably than they've ever seen. So
yeah, probably.
And then they probably thought, oh, if we're nice to these guys, then we can rob them after too.
That's what I was thinking. I was just like, real bandits.
Yeah. So who knows?
I was shocked. I expected this film to be like a very solitary film. Like once they set out on the journey, I thought it was really going to be the three of them. And I couldn't believe how many times it was like, oh, here's a random dude who followed him back, and now we're in town, and here's the bandits, and there's the federales, and like it was like not at all the sort of solitary film I expected, which was interesting.
Yeah, it was very well populated, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's an episode of Better Call Saul when they're in the desert, and I'm wondering, because that's where, like, now that you say it, that's what I picture in my head. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna kind of like the last third of the film with Bogey there. That's what I picture more of. We're running out of resources. We're getting on each other's nerves.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get this gold back, but we're not trusting each other. And it doesn't go there. And I actually was actually pleasantly surprised by that.
Me too. Yeah.
The kind of the strangest tale of somebody hanging around, of course, because they were, this big Hollywood production in this small place that had not seen that before. The townsfolk, everyone was hanging around. People were working as extras. There was a young boy hanging around John Huston named Pablo, who was helping him out. And he was just there all the time throughout the course of the thing. And John Huston's wife was with him for a while. And then she went back to America, and John got to know this young boy, realized he was an orphan. He was homeless, all this stuff. And he adopted the boy.
Incredible.
And when his wife picked him up from the airport, welcome back to America, he's like, oh, and here's our new son, Pablo.
Him and Danny will get along quite nicely.
Yeah, I don't think it worked out, actually. Eventually, it got dark. Eventually, he did leave and go back to Mexico, where he, I guess, sold cars. He was like a used car salesman. But then I did read something where there may have been like an assault. There was either an affair or an assault, and I believe he did marry someone and have children. And took them all with him. Anyway, it's a weird, dark kind of moment where he was like, I'm going to adopt this boy. I think, they say stories about John Huston are not exaggerated because everything he did in his life was just wild. And he was kind of a cruel director. He was cruel to his cast. Bogart was, very upset, and he was whining about the conditions, and they were going so far over schedule. He was in an annual yacht race from Catalina Island to I think Honolulu or something like that. And he was going to miss this race, and he was whining about it, and Huston like grabbed his nose and almost twisted it off his face, and like just kind of a wildly different time.
You little shit.
Yeah, and he was an actor.
Home Alone, when he's like, you ruined everything. Like,
the worst uncle of all time.
Who talks to me like this? Like
what did we think of the score? Did anyone kind of clock the score in any way? It was kind of bombastic and thrilling for moments that maybe didn't account for it. Matt, did you enjoy it?
You know what? I've been known to be maybe overly kind to films. And I think, for those of us who have worked on films, we know how hard it is. So I don't say this lightly. Hated the music. And I don't I don't hate on films very often.
Right.
But I was so confused by it so often. I was very off put by like, why is the music telling me to feel happy when this is horrible? Or why is it so triumphant when there's, I don't understand what
a stylistic choice to throw me off of what was going on.
Maybe.
Like, if they're getting weird, am I supposed to feel like I'm getting weird? And it's like a Clockwork Orange where they played the sounds that just like messed with like people. Like the music wasn't bad. It was just miscued.
Yeah, you weren't alone. I mean, even though a lot of people really enjoy the score, people were very confused by it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely. What did you think, Dave? Did it throw you off at all?
I didn't even notice it. Like it didn't retain in my memory in any way, which generally means no, I probably didn't like it.
Yeah.
I remember good scores.
Yeah, usually you're kind of on the side of being positive about music that is effective. I don't know that this music was effective, other than maybe, like you say, just to throw us off the scent.
That might have been it. Yeah,
what was really happening? Yeah,
they're confused about everyone's motives, like visually, auditorily. I most definitely sold that. Like, I just don't understand. Like, again, it wasn't bad.
No,
it just miscued.
Yeah, like, and I don't want to be confusing. I want to be clear. The music was good. It was just weirdly placed. Miscued is the right word for sure.
Yeah, and even the marketing department didn't know how to market it. And we talk about whether it's a Western. I know the marketing department did their best to sell it as a Western. They added a saloon girl to the poster. They they really tried to make it look, and they sold it as a new Western but to me, I mean, it's more Indiana Jones. It's more, like, what are those movies like the Uncharted? Is that kind of, kind of that adventure, even not total, sword and sandal, but like The Mummy, things like that, where you're out and it's, I mean, it really is. Yeah. I mean, at its core, it really is this personal tale of these people and greed and capitalism and what happens to your soul in these moments. But stylistically, it felt to me more of like a Gunga Din or like an adventure film, like a Last Crusade, which is, the choices made in Last Crusade, the greed that overtook the Nazis and stuff. I think that, definitely probably has a home in this.
Fun fact, Sean Connery's character from Last Crusade was based on the prospector from this. You might not know that.
Anyone who ever went looking for anything is based on Walter.
Based on this, yeah. Exactly.
I don't know. I feel like
They
I feel like
cut
they
out-
had a task. It was a very confusing movie. It has kind of a downer ending, even though I like the idea that, you know, they feel bad about the widow in Texas.
Yeah.
And they're going to kind of cut her in some way, shape, or form, you know, and at least to the very extent of, or like to the extent of they're going to tell her what happened here.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's her letter, I think, that is about. That's where we discover the heart of the film when they're reading the letter that she's writing. You know, she says, you know, like the pain of you being away for these extended periods is not worth it. I hope you're done with this because we've already found the greatest treasure that life has to offer. I think that's pretty much hitting us over the head with the concept here.
Yeah, and these guys don't have that. They don't.
Right.
There's not someone waiting for them to come back from Mexico, you know. And
right.
Yeah.
There's an odd line where the prospector says, "Don't even think about women." It kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, they say when they were talking about what they're going to do with the money.
Yeah.
Bogart goes, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a and he kind of says something horrible, doesn't he? He says, I'm going to order a big meal and then turn it away because
even if it's great, even if they don't ruin anything, I'm going to send it back.
That's a crazy red flag that somebody, you know, they always say you when you're on a date, you know, to judge your mate,
how they treat the
waiters and how they treat the doorman, and you know, we always say, you know, you kind of actors when they come into town, how do they treat the PAs, how do they treat you know, right? It's sort of a big red flag if they're rude to certain people, and that was a weird thing to say. And then he says and then he kind of goes quiet, and they're like, well, then what next? He's like,
yeah, then what after that?
They're like, well, what do you think? And they all just sit there in it.
Yeah.
Think about it. And then, Walter Houston is like, it's not even worth thinking about women, you know? Yeah.
I wonder if
you're right. It was a weird moment.
I wonder if Bogey's whole tale is based on, because when they catch up with the businessman in the beginning, he has the lady on his arm, and he just, that guy is like, just go back to the hotel room. I got to do it. Like, he just dismisses this lady.
Yeah.
Like,
he doesn't even know her name.
And I'm wondering if he's picturing that is who he wants to be. This guy who looks the part, has the woman on his arm, because that's what he thinks money is.
I think that's an interesting point, except that he beats him up. If Bogart had been this guy who had been, you know, downtrodden and kicked while he was down his entire life, I would kind of get this a little bit more. But he evens the score with that guy. He wins in the shootout. Like he's not the empathetic like guy.
He's not the good guy.
Yeah,
he's like. Arguably, Tim is the good guy in this. In my opinion.
Tim. Although there is a moment in the cave-in when it looks like Tim is maybe not going to go help him.
What was that about?
Because I think it is. It's corrupting his mind. That oh, wait a minute. Now we're only splitting it two ways. But then he does.
He comes back.
He does help him. So
more gold in that mine. So let's get him out of there.
Yes, and I really do think that. He's when Bogey starts to turn, Tim doesn't quite understand it, you know, and he really has those moments of like, you know, is this gonna happen to me? No, you know, like he, you know, and then when he gets shot, and then off camera he gets away, when he's recounting the story, he was like, he not only did he think he killed me, he came back and shot me again.
Yeah,
like to make sure. So like he's gone. Like he's gone to the other side. And it's an interesting little character study.
I'm a little annoyed by how by Tim's decisions, right? He saved his life, and then shortly thereafter, Dobbs wants to kill him for going after his stash.
Mhm.
And it turns out, no, there's a Gila monster in there.
There really was. Yeah.
Doesn't that prove me honest in your mind? No, it doesn't. Over and over again, Tim is at the other end of Dobbs' gun. Yeah. And I'm a little frustrated that he let it happen so many times that he got shot. I mean, he survives, but in the end, Dobbs would have killed him, was trying to kill him.
Yeah, and really I think he was foolish to trust him. But then again, it was the prospector left them. Mm-hmm. Walter Hewson left them together, knowing the fragile state of their mental health.
Yeah, he does have like a look back going like, that might not go well.
Yes, and I think he really, I think he was planning to come back at his leisure, pick the gold up from around the dead bodies, and cash out.
That goes back to the original. Like, I think he's done this over and over again. Like, I think that's his grift down there.
Well, but maybe he knows that it's unavoidable. Like, he just, like, maybe younger, he's seen it so many times. He's going to be honest with them, which he is, about everything, about the dangers, about how, the realities of like killing someone or not. And he's honest always. But yeah, maybe he's just like, I can't control that these younger men are too greedy, too like, I'll just let it happen and take the gold myself later.
He's upfront about it the whole time. Like, and it catches them off guard this whole film. Like, wait a minute. Yeah. Only someone who thinks that way would be. He's like, no, it's just, this is the reality.
Because if he was trying to trick them, he'd be like, it's easy to get gold. I know where it is. And like he could have been, but he was honest about everything.
Kidneys.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But would they even?
Pam.
Yes.
You listen to the audiobook of this.
Yes.
Are some of these motivations and stuff that we're questioning clearer in the book?
Yeah. Good question.
Not really. It definitely tracks the same journey of mistrust and because he's talking to himself, right? Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really keep too much in the inner monologue. It really is him bouncing back and forth between like Dobbs's character of like, oh, they're definitely going to come for me, and they're definitely, like I didn't get the sense that I got any extra insight.
Okay.
At least in the audiobook version.
Yeah. Is it first person?
What's that, sorry?
Is it first person or third person?
No, it's third person. Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's third person. And the idea that, it feels more of because it is intended to be a real indictment of any society where you own things.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think the idea was that as long as you didn't own anything, have possessions, want for things, then it's a little like Pluribus. Like, as soon as you don't want for things,
life gets easier.
Life kind of gets peaceful, at least. I don't know. Yeah, you're giving up something, but it becomes, at least the pursuit is not violent. We've said in our proposition episode, we talked about, that pursuit of civilizing a land is a violent thing. You have to be, you have to disrupt the land. And look at this, after they were done,
you got to treat it, put it back together.
You got to put the mountain back together.
This was a nice moment.
Again, this is where, I feel like the prospector was like, okay, we've got the gold and they haven't turned on each other yet. I got to keep them out here longer. I gotta get another month out of these guys. So then he tells this story of, and a similar to, all these honor code things, we got to put the mountain back together. We got to make it seem like we were never here. We got to dismantle everything we built. Mm-hmm. We've wounded her. We've got to heal up the wound. Yeah. Or was he just saying they haven't gone crazy yet? I bet you another week or another 2 weeks of this.
Maybe
they'll go crazy, and I'll be walking out of here with the whole share.
Huh. Or we put it this back. I can bring another two guys out here and
find the same gold over again.
Yeah. I found it interesting because I listened to the Lux Radio Theater version.
Yes,
which was a couple of years. Not even. I think it was 1950-ish as well. So it wasn't long after the movie came out. But they cut it down to an hour.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And the pacing in these radio plays, when they do that, because that's a fairly common thing for them to do, is always a little bit iffy. But they cut out the full beginning part. They cut in after all the oil stuff has happened. And it feels more like they've gone the direction of the gold fever. Like they've really leaned into that part of the storyline.
It's really interesting because I saw James Cameron's 3-part epic where he stretched it out to 3 movies about unobtainium. And so
it's 4.
It's actually 5 if he gets his
They're
right.
going 5. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're not going to live to see the last one of these. But.
Yeah.
It's so funny you should bring that up, Dave, because I listened to old radio shows on 630 Chad back when I lived in Edmonton for years and years growing up. And I think I've heard it now. I must have been like 12 years old, but I think I may have heard the radio version of this now that you bring.
And if you search, if you're listening to this on a podcast, not the YouTube, actually, even if you're on the YouTube, you can search the Treasure of Sierra Madre, and you'll probably find the Lux Radio Theater version of it. There's lots of old time radio podcasts out there. Some of them are on YouTube, and all your major podcast platforms.
I love old radio shows. Love them. And it reminds me of in Citizen Kane. There's the scene where they say, "Let's all go to the window and look outside to see." The line is, "Let's all go to the window," and it's like, oh, that's a little holdover from radio scripts. Like, you don't need to say that in a movie. The same thing happens in this film when Bogart is like, "Did you see that shot was 2 inches above my head?" It was like, well, you could have just showed us that. You didn't notice.
Fun fact: Orson Welles' character is based on the old. No, okay, I'm done with that.
And Dave, was it Bogart in the role?
Yeah,
in the
it was Bogart and Houston came back. Whenever they do these edited down radio versions of classic movies, they try to bring back a couple of the stars.
I wonder.
The studio format of the years made it a little easier for them to do that.
You probably know a lot more about this, but I wonder if it's something's popular, it's in the zeitgeist, it's a thing, but a film isn't necessarily as accessible to a lot of people as a radio play. So then they kind of reform it as a radio play back then, just to kind of
get a little bit more out of it.
Well, that's great. That's great.
It's funny you say that because it's probably the opposite today. It's where film is probably a lot more. The interesting thing between the audiobook and the radio play, and why I like especially Cam when you go into the multiple versions, is you're getting multiple people's views on the same subject matter and what they think is important. Like what's worth saving, what's worth removing, what's worth changing. You're getting
that act of adapting is that's a wild thing to accomplish. Absolutely.
Clark Gregg, when he was adapting the book Choke, went to the author, and because it took him about 3 years, and the author went, "It's yours. I'm version 1.0. Whatever you do with it is your version of it. Make it yours." He did the same. The same author did Fight Club, and with David Fincher, no, this is yours now. Like, take what I've started, what you think is important, the themes you pull out of it, and tell your story with it. And
again, anti-capitalist message in that. And it's often cited as one of the ones when they say, name me a movie that's better than the book. It's usually, Fight Club's better as a movie than it is as a book.
Oh, that was rhetorical. Sorry.
Let's get into our counts. So I'm just trying to think if I had any other kind of random thoughts. That there was some other cameos. Anne Sheraton was a star with the studio, and she played the prostitute that was with that guy that he sends off.
That's awfully presumptuous.
How do you know she was a prostitute?
How do you know?
Well, that was the idea of the
in the audio version. They're like they may have called her a prostitute on his arm.
Jack Holt, Tim's father, is in there at one point. They like to throw in all these little things because back then, movies, you couldn't really pause them. You maybe saw it once in your theater before it disappeared. And, they always threw in little jokes. I guess John Huston played a lot of pranks, especially on his actors, which I am not a prank guy. That's not, I hate a prank, but anyway, he played a lot of pranks on set. It was a fun set for, and they did stay at a spa. So they really did enjoy, and they did a lot of late night drinking. They did a lot of late night gambling. I think they kind of had a good, I think the studio got to the point where it was like, maybe the next film should be shot here in the studio.
Yeah.
Because this is getting a little out of hand.
Controls.
But let's talk about our horses on film count.
Funny.
It's either, sorry.
Funny fact, if I may, Rain Johnson played a 2-hour prank on Star Wars fans. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, no, we'll get to episode 8 on Happiness Patrol. So it's either no horses, some horses, lots of horses, all the horses. I don't know where I stand on this at all. What do you think? Let's start with Dave. What do you think?
I put it down as no horses because the only horses that are in it are really the bandits and the federales.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's no point where the horses have any interaction of any sort. It's always in the distance. It's always
burros have more than the
yeah, exactly. There's burros.
So burros are not horses. They're donkeys.
No,
they're donkeys, but there's mules often too. And mules are a crossbreed.
But yeah, as far as actual horses go, though, it's all in the distance.
Yeah.
Point of the podcast is to figure out whether horses and mules are the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the main goal.
Different podcast. Yeah. It's like a 23andMe on horses.
On episode 2, we find out whether they can play football or not.
I would maybe say some horses, because there is a shot where they're looking down the hill and they don't know if it's federales or bandits, and there's a lot of horses milling about. But you're right, it's so distant, it doesn't feel, I mean, we've really established that this story is a 3-part harmony of trust and mistrust and the various other guests and cameos and stuff, but it doesn't really feel like the story hinges on horses in any way. So maybe it's no horses. What do you think, Matt?
From the not a Western guy perspective, when you give me bandits on horses and a train getting stopped and shooting through the windows and bandits, like, for me, that's horses. And admittedly, there's a lot of movie where there's not horses. But as soon as that scene happened, I was like, horses.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get it some horses kind of.
Yeah.
Or it's definitely bordering on no horses.
There are a few present. If that's the question, fair enough. There's like, it's a very small percentage of the film.
It was a budget item. They had to budget. They had to budget for horses. And everything that goes along with getting them to and from set and all that. So yeah, okay. How about ratings? What do we think?
We didn't get
some horses.
Yeah. Rating out of 5. Let's start with Scott.
I actually really enjoyed this. I actually thought it was really good. I'd like to note the bandit scene with the some horses. Very terribly structured. It took me a minute to realize what we were looking at. Until it really started moving, and they're really low in the lower third of the scene. They're like really terribly framed. But I give this like I'm going to give it a Dave 3.5. So
okay, 3.5 out of 5. How about you, Matt?
Since I'm the same score, I'm going to say it right off the top, 3.5. And for me, it was, there were so many moments where I was like, oh, this is exciting. They're going to go this way. And then they went a different direction. And sometimes that was great and unexpected. And other times I was like, oh, what a missed opportunity. And I feel like there were too many of those missed opportunity moments for me to rate it much higher than that. Yeah.
And Dave?
Ironically, also 3.5.
Oh, look at you. Now you guys are changing my mind. Do you think it just
peer pressure?
My benchmark for a 4 is, will I watch this again? And honestly, so I think I'm actually underrating this a little bit because, again, is it a Western? it's a neo western. But I would watch it again. I don't necessarily. I'm not going to go hunting it down. I'm not going to go. I have Casablanca on DVD. I have Maltese Falcon on DVD. I'm not going to go hunting for this.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like, oh, hey, let's watch some Bogart movies. Okay.
Yeah.
I will watch it. I'm not going to avoid it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you listen to the radio play before or after you saw the film?
After.
And did you search out the radio play?
I did. Specifically did because we were watching this.
So wouldn't that be a 4 then?
That's what I'm saying.
What would you give the radio? Did you like it better?
It's really iffy. Like I'm like, do I give it
Kaiser Sosa? Yeah.
But at the same time, is it a Western? It's that is it a Western is pulling it back a little bit as well under that thing. Sure. And also looking up the radio, which I did find for the record on a Western themed old time radio podcast.
Oh, neat. That's really cool.
Did you prefer the radio play? Because I know you do love a radio play. Did you prefer it?
I did because it was a little bit faster. The pacing is, as I said, a little bit choppy, but it always is. I'm used to choppy pacing when it comes to these audios, but it definitely felt more to the point. And there was more, it wasn't just bad people being bad and getting worse. It was mediocre people getting worse.
Yeah.
And the reason for it was the gold.
Yes.
Yeah, I do feel that greed is the underlying of this.
Oh, very much.
Yeah. Cam, what you give it?
Well, that's a tricky one. I really do enjoy it. It is one of my favorites on this list. Like it really is one that I was looking forward to watching. I hadn't seen in a while. It does have a lot of influence on a lot of things, and I did rewatch 3 Men and a Comic Book recently, and that is a great episode of The Simpsons. It really is. It's kind of right as Simpsons is starting to really hit its stride, and you get into like the Oakley Weinstein years, and like there's a shot where Marge just says, sorry to go off on a tangent about The Simpsons, but Marge just says, Homer, it's really coming down out there. You want to check on the boys? And Homer just looks out the window, and they're up in the treehouse choking each other to death. And the lightning flashes, and he's just getting this stroboscopic kind of shots of them tearing each other apart. And Homer just, they're fine. And it's so great. And even when Martin is sneaking out to go to the bathroom, and then they accuse him of trying to steal the comic book, and Milhouse is just, let's tie him up, like, it really in that case too, like Bart's definitely the one that's gone off the deep end. He's the Bogart character. Everyone else is pretty even keeled, and then Marge offers the hot cocoa and s'mores, and they're totally over it.
I need to rewatch this.
But back to Sierra Madre, it really is a great film, and when I revisited it leading up to this, I was surprised how much preamble there was before they got out to the desert.
Me too. Yeah.
Because in my mind, it was the three in the desert. It was like you said, like the solitary, and maybe I might be confusing it too with a couple other movies.
I'm wondering the same.
Yeah, The Walking Hills and maybe the Ballad of Cable Hogue too. I kind of feel like there was more time out in the desert, but rewatching it this last time, I watched it yesterday, and finished a bit of it today. It's the preamble I really enjoy the most. Like I really do. I almost want more time with these characters before they lose it. And it was this last time watching that I've developed this theory that this is the prospector's grift. This is Walter Houston's grift, that he knows he can pick up a couple desperate guys, convince them to go out into the wilderness and fleece them, because he knows they're going to tear each other apart. And if he stays trustworthy and cool and honest, they're never going to necessarily turn on him. He's just going to keep feeding them all these things about how eventually they'll turn on each other, and then eventually they do.
Well, now I want to watch it again with that in mind.
Yeah, and
you see
sorry.
that you see that angle when Gutenberg played the character in 3 Men and a Baby, where
you know what's interesting?
Yeah.
3 Men and a Baby is based on a movie on this list.
Oh, is it? I'm joking. I didn't realize
it really is. And it's coming up in our next little.
I did not know that. Okay, here we go.
So Hell's Heroes was a film where 3 people out in the desert find a baby and have to return it to its. It's a little bit of a nativity allegory. It was remade as 3 Godfathers with John Wayne, which doesn't make the list. It's not on the list, but it's definitely one I think we should explore when we get into Hell's Heroes. And then I believe it was remade as an anime called Tokyo Godfathers at some point. And then it's remade as 3 Men and a Baby, starring Steve Guttenberg and Ted Danson.
You see all this.
It is a story that it has Western roots, so it's so funny.
The TV series Californication, David Duchovny writes a book called God Hates Everyone or something like that. And then Hollywood gets a hold of it and changes it to a crazy little thing called Love is the title thing. And that's where I'm going from here to here. And I was like, where did we get here?
Yeah. So I'm really excited about the Hell's Heroes episode, which is coming up fairly soon. Anyway, to my rating, we've passed our 1 hour 23 mark.
I know. I like that.
I'm going to say 4. I'm going to go 4. And that last star, that last half star is really akin to how influential it is, how it sort of does it's holding on to the Western genre by its fingernails. It's barely a Western, and we've talked about There Will Be Blood and some of these other things that are just kind of not Western enough. I think this one is Western enough because of all the things that were influenced by it, and because this play between the 3 of them, and I really do think Walter Houston has this background motivation that even in the final scene where he gives money to Tim Holt's character and is like, go off and find that girl and maybe live out your peach farming dreams, and he really has like a good thing going with the locals, and
he's a god. He's literally in a hammock being served fruit by women.
I think that's him saying, I don't have to run this grift any longer.
Right. Yeah.
And in this case, the maybe if he's done it a bunch of times, the gold always ended up kind of back where it was. And he even says like, oh, there's some gold here, but the real vein is up there. He's basing that on his knowledge of geology and everything, but it also could be where he left it the first few times he did the grift, or where it was before. The idea that now he's kind of set up with a new thing. He doesn't have to do the grift anymore, and he's kind of backing away from it, and he's in good spirits. It's the studio head, Warner, he did kind of balk at the ending, but then once he kind of came to understand it, he really championed it. And he really said, movies don't all have to end a certain way. This is 1948. Actually, the next film on our list, which we'll get to, was also 1948, interestingly enough. And I really do think this movie it really threw even the marketing department for a loop of like, how do we market this strange movie? It went out on location. It's up against this kind of British invasion and all these prestige movies coming from Europe, these Italian films and stuff. And it's an American film to its core, but is almost from another planet compared to what else was being shot at the time. And I just think it's a prestige movie. And I've said before that I kind of reserve that 4-star allocation for what I feel are kind of these award-worthy prestige movies, and I do think it is Western enough, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I believe that. Western.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I was listening to your first episode of the show, and somebody said Jordan Peele was on the list, and I was like, what? When did wait?
Nope.
I literally had to look it up. Oh, Nope. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Didn't think of that as a Western in the slightest until now, I guess. But yeah, for me, this is definitely a Western. But I'm not a Western guy, so I don't know all the rules. Yeah.
Well, and it's one of the things that I've said I like about this list is that they will put Nope on there, and they will put the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they will put what's the Korean version of good, the bad, and the ugly?
The good, the bad, and the weird.
The good, the bad, and the weird is on this list, and The Rider, and and a couple documentaries, and like it does kind of run the gamut of everything Western and Western adjacent in an interesting, sometimes unhinged way, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
But like I said, even in the There Will Be Blood, maybe I don't want to remove all these kind of fringe ones and replace them with Bedecker films or everything with John Wayne, and I don't want 14 John Wayne movies because we've removed all these things that are kind of fringe Westerns. But I don't even think this is a fringe Western. I think I'm sure it's on the AFI top 10 Westerns list. I'm sure it is.
Probably.
Because if it's on the AFI 100 list, there's not a lot of Westerns on that list. So I'm sure it's on there. But yeah, anyway, I just think it's a great film, and I think 3.5s and 4s is enough to keep it on this list. And I think, is that where we're at? Is it a keep on the list? Yeah.
Like, again, my argument, it was only based on, I'm happy we did There Will Be Blood before this one, because I do feel as we go through the list and see, like, Nope, we haven't done yet, but is it a Western is a fantastic start point for a really good discussion like we had here. And so I still stand by no, but that's based on the rules set forth by you and you. So it's just it's
fair.
Yeah.
And are there any other movies, films that maybe are not on this list that you think could be considered in this?
The Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
No.
Great film.
It's the same hat.
It is a great film. Yeah.
Actually, the more you say it, actually, the more I'm like, I feel that it has the spirit of Western more than this one might.
Well, and it's in that kind of adventure genre a little bit too, and I think of Algiers, is kind of like a Casablanca. It was a movie that inspired Casablanca, and predates it a little bit. The Walking Hills I mentioned is a kind of another going out to the desert looking for gold movie, and one that we've mentioned before, Sorcerer. Matt, have you seen 1977 William Friedkin's Sorcerer? I've talked about it. Brandon turned me onto it, and I've watched it half dozen times. It's 4 people, and it was very much inspired by this in the Turner Classic Movie, that show where they bring on people and they get to curate kind of a weekend of films. William Friedkin introduced Sierra Madre by basically saying, I tried to remake it with Sorcerer.
Wow.
It's 4 men that had to leave their life for whatever reason, and they're working for an oil company down in South America and making pennies and being mistreated and sweating profusely. There's an explosion at an oil rig, and they have to get the dynamite to close it in, and they have to get across the jungle with this nitroglycerin, which could blow at any moment. And it's literally like they're going across the rope bridges, and like it's the most stressful, sweatiest movie ever. It also holds the distinction of coming out on May 25th, 1977, which we all know opposite Star Wars.
Drink.
Yeah. So it kind of got buried a little because of that, but
yeah. It's actually also, oddly enough, the inspiration for the board game Fireball Island.
Oh, is it? I don't know.
This up as
I don't know that board game.
Oh, it's a great. We'll talk about that after.
Okay, yeah, Dave's the board game guy. Yeah, so that's great. Other than that, I think we're into next week. We're going to number 22 on the list. I said earlier, also from 1948, Red River, directed by Howard Hawks, who did Rio Bravo, but
Oh, yay.
long before he did Rio Bravo. It stars John Wayne, Montgomery Clift, and Joanne Drew. It's 133 minutes. It's streaming on Amazon Prime in Canada and free on Tubi. So it should be a pretty easy one for people to get over the next couple of weeks. If they're following along, I hope they are. It's something I'm hoping to kind of create is a little community of people that are watching Westerns, and maybe Matt, and maybe you'll start watching more Westerns.
I'm in. I definitely will be, actually. This has been a good entry point for me.
All right. That's great. And maybe one day we'll make a Western together.
That'd be sick. Let's do it.
That'd be amazing. Okay. Well, let's start with you, Dave. Where can we find you in this world? You're all over the internet.
Yeah, all over the YouTubes, everywhere you can imagine. You can find me on Sundays on Spill the Geek Tea at Spill the Geek T1. Tuesdays, Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. On the first Thursday of every month, Happiness Patrol, youtube.com/@Happiness Patrol Show, along with Cameron and Scott. And in between all of that, you can find me on my main channel, youtube.com/TheRatHole, DOTCA. That's TheRatHole.ca, but YouTube does not like URLs in their URLs.
All right. Yeah. And Scott.
Breakfast Scotch National, where I try to digest the world into a hopefully haha humorous way. It is 2026 has already been fairly exciting, to say the least. Yep. So it's been pretty easy to write some stuff about, and that's never a good thing. Beyond that, like Dave said, I joined Cam and Dave on Happiness Patrol, and hopefully by the time you see this, it's funny, the chaos around me is setting up what we're doing next for Pod and Pixel. So
rad. Right on. And Matt, I know where I can find you because I've been watching Pluripod and I've been loving it. So yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely check out Pluripod. It's been a fun exploration of making a show around a show, which I've never really done before. I've been wanting to do that, and I like the nature of doing a podcast, kind of like this one, although this is a long journey. That's just kind of like got a limited run to it. And what's interesting is that we're recording this. I'm just about to start a new show about Project Hail Mary, the book that's being adapted into the film. And when this episode drops, we'll just have completed that run. On May 20th is when the movie comes out. So we're kind of covering every chapter for one episode each, leading up to the release of the film. And then we're going to talk about the film. So you should be able to have the whole run of the show. Hopefully we did it. Future Matt better get to work on that.
That's great. I love that idea of following the book. And so everyone gets totally familiar with the story in the book. And then when that ends, you get to go to the movie. And then you can talk about
the other nice piece is I've read the book. I've actually listened to the audiobook. And Megan, who's been a guest on your show as well, has not read the book. And so she'll be coming at it fresh, and I'll know where we're going. So it's an interesting dynamic.
I love that. I listened to not one but two different Dune podcasts.
Ooh.
And there was one where they were going through each chapter and they were both very familiar with the book. Mm-hmm. And there was one where it was someone who was familiar and someone who wasn't, like someone who was fresh and new. And I much preferred that one. It was,
interesting.
That's a very good way to approach it. I love that. Yeah. And Megan is amazing. Yeah.
You kind of have Megan's point of view, seeing you came at the Westerns for this.
That's right. Totally. Good point.
Yeah. It's like a book club, chapter by chapter.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic.
Cool. Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm on Horses on Film. I'm on Happiness Patrol with Dave and Scott and Mel and Jess and I'm really looking forward to getting into the sequels. As I said, the Disney chapters of Star Wars are definitely worth talking about. Horsesonfilm.com is something we own. You can email us at horsesonfilm@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram as Horses on Film Podcast. And on there is where you can watch our little intro videos. If you missed our little Simpsons clips and DuckTales clips that opened up this one, they're all there. On Letterboxd, there's Horses on Film on Letterboxd, as well as Cameron Chapman is my personal Letterboxd. Check us out on Letterboxd, because when we're making lists, we're about to, by the time this one airs, you should be able to see what our first 20 episodes are going to be, and maybe even beyond that, and some of our bonus episodes that we're talking about doing should be out in the world, or at least in list version. Our main channel, youtube.com @horsesonfilm, is where you can watch this every second Monday. I hope you're joining along. I hope you're enjoying it. We've received a lot of really great comments and people that are along for the year of the horse. It's the year of the horse. And I was going to leave with one little quote. Sometimes I do a little sign off, but
before you do, let me thank you, the three of you, for having me. This was
my God, well,
really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure.
Honestly, this is not the last time. We will have you back again. Amazing. And again. And you've even mentioned that there's a possibility we could use your studio at some point.
Yeah, a crossover episode or something. Well, yeah, let's do it.
Well, if there's ever a moment where we're all in Calgary together, I think we should try to hammer out. I think that would be really in-person cool. episode. You've got such a beautiful setup there, and we really appreciate it. So let's I was just gonna go. I found a quote from Plato, the philosopher. He said, "The greatest penalty of evil doing, namely to grow into the likeness of bad men." And that's very much what's going on in this, that internal corruption of these characters, and even maybe people becoming the likeness of bad men out there in the world is the penalty for their evil doing. I like that as a quote.
Love it. Yeah. There's a Stoic quote, and I can't quote it verbatim, but it revolves around the idea that if something can be taken from you, it was never yours to begin with, which also sort of resonates for me with this film too. So yeah,
absolutely. Cool. Absolutely. Yeah. They never really had those riches,
right.
It was all
they never did.
It was potential of riches.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're looking at the Walter Houston version of this, maybe it was just sand.
It's true. So it's some other guy's job to refine it.
Yeah.
It really is the friends we make along the way.
Yeah, the true treasure is the friends we make along the way. Anyway, thank you very much, all. And I want to thank also Brett Alec Bailey for our beautiful theme song, which we can cue now. And it's always the best way to end an episode.
Thanks, guys.